Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Tuesdays at 2 with Coaching and Trauma. I am Melissa Gale, and today we are going over boundaries and the number one reason why we can't keep them. So, again, I'm Melissa Gale. I run the Intention Academy here, and we are all things trauma, understanding what trauma is, knowing that trauma is not what happens to us. Trauma is who we decide we are because of that traumatic event, and in those moments we decide we decide things about ourselves or the world, and it's from that lens that we then view the entire world. So if you're on the live, say hello, put hashtag live. If you're coming back and you're watching the replay, I know I've got a lot of replay watchers. Please hit hashtag replay. I love seeing who actually comes in and from where y'all are from. So, hi, Ruchi. Nice to see you. Okay, so what I want to do when talking about boundaries, first I love to go back to the definition. And so I'm just going to read to you what the definition of boundaries is. So boundaries is a line that marks the limit of an area. And when you go into personal boundaries, it says it's limits and rules that we set within ourselves. Right? We set within ourselves. So what does that mean? That means that we're in control of them, first off, right? You know, we set them, we enforce them, and we're the ones that create them. Now, this is where the problem lies. And it goes back to all of the things that we've been saying through this. So if you're new to the group, I encourage you to get into the announcements, scroll all the way to the bottom. The first one actually is trauma. It's kind of in the middle. What is trauma? And really turning trauma on its head so you understand where we're coming from, right? So much of us in just mainstream media, from media to the medical system, we have been programmed to think that if we suffer from depression, if we have suffer with anxiety, different things like that, that we are sick and that there is a solution. Everyone is trying to sell their solution. What I want you to do is to learn your brain. Learn your brain. This is just how your brain works. And when we know how to start working the tools within our body, we can then unlock all of the things and stop the repeated patterns of behaviors that we most disdain about ourselves, right? Because again, it comes to this repeated patterns. And we're going to talk about that today, because you're going to find out today that these boundaries and our inability is just another way that our self-sabotage shows up for us. And remember, self-sabotage is actually for us. So if you missed that live, make sure you go back to the announcements and go back and watch it. I'm at home today. I'm back home for like 2 months, and then I plan on, all I know is in October, I'm going to be in Washington off the Columbia River and about 2 miles from Canada, and I'll be camping outside in my tent for like a month. So I'm so excited. Yes, Sue, I'm so glad you made it live. Welcome. We have so many new people. So thank you, first off, everyone. Like, it's my honor that y'all are here with me and that y'all are willing to learn, because the people who are willing to not give up, I know if you made it to this group, you have been in groups like this, you have searched through trauma, you've probably done many different programs, you've probably worked yourself through the medical system, and yet you are still looking for an answer. So first off, I applaud you. It's the exact same way that I got healing. And don't give up, and learn your brain, learn your tools, learn the way that God made you specifically, and then intentionally create that. So boundaries, what is a boundary? It's the line that we put up as what we say is going to be acceptable or not. Because again, the personal boundaries are limits and rules that we set within ourselves. So we set them, we create them. Okay, so we teach people how to treat us. So the sad part about boundaries is that they're taking your lead. So if we're teaching people how to treat us, and we're also the ones setting the boundaries, the rules or parameters that you're going to allow within your life, it's going to start within yourself. And for anyone that struggles with trauma, self-hatred at its worst, deep judgment at its best, with trauma, you're going to experience this, right? You're going to freaking experience this. And, when you are judging yourself, or all the way at the other spectrum of hating yourself, the way that you talk to yourself, your internal dialogue is not pretty. It's probably horrible. If you were anything like me, I started my day cussing myself out internally, telling myself I needed to get out of bed. Even whenever I was like getting myself on a good routine, I'm going to start working out. And, I was raising 3 kids. I was up and out of the house. I had to be at work by 7 a.m. So I needed to be up by 4 a.m. And I started my day by cussing myself out and telling me, why can I not get up? No, why can I not do better? And it came from a lot of these belief systems. Well, what did I magnify on the outset of my life? I magnified a lot of this self-harm, because again, it's our boundary. Yes, Kathy, I'm going to come see you, Northport, Washington. I hope you're close by there. If not, if you're within 5 hours, I'm going to meet you, and I can't wait. Kathy has just joined our program, and if you haven't checked out her before and after picture after clearing some emotions, you need to go find it. And one of the things, maybe she can post it up in the group, but this stuff works, guys. When you go in and you are brave and you face yourself and you start learning yourself, which is exactly what we're talking about. How are you able to change this relationship with yourself when we have all of this trauma based off the belief systems that we have? Again, trauma not being what happened to us. That was a traumatic event. That was a traumatic event, but being who we decided we were. I decided I was unlovable. I decided I was not worthy. And with those belief systems, I went and then abused myself and wrecked my own life for decades with my own belief systems. We have to be responsible. We are not responsible for what happened to us, but we're not to blame for it, but we are responsible for what happens after that. And I know, I tell everybody, there's a spectrum of being able to come in and do this work. And some people are just so mired in their pain, they're just not ready. And that's okay. There's a place for our emotions, and our emotions, you speak to them, at the level that you're at. And continue to be brave so that you can get yourself in here and actually do the subconscious work to be able to take care of these. So when we go back to boundaries, why can we not keep them? We can't keep them because it's going to mimic the boundaries that we have with ourselves. It's going to mimic the relationship that we have with ourselves. We make up those boundaries. We make up the relationship with ourselves based off our belief systems. How do we create a belief system? How is the belief system created? It's created with a person, place, or thing. We interact with a person, place, or thing, coupled with a deep emotion, good or bad. We have lots of good belief systems too. And in that, we decide something about ourselves or the world, right? Yes, responsible is empowering. It is. It is empowering, but the problem is, and we kind of, I alluded to it on the comment that you made, and thank you for making that that post on my main page. It was really good, but it goes down to this choice. We say, even here, I say, choose happy. And there, it's one thing to say it. It's one thing to say, I'm going to be responsible. But when we understand how we're taking on information, for those of you that have missed how we take on information and how we store information in our body and how we're just processing everything through our 5 senses, it all starts with the eyes. Even now, you're taking on this information with your eyes. It bypasses the thinking brain. We think that we see this, we're taking this information, we're thinking about it, and we're filing it away into the unconscious mind to think about later for a memory, but that's not what happens. It comes on into our eyes. It bypasses the thinking brain, the critical factor. It goes straight to the unconscious mind and gets filtered through the reticular activating system, or the RAS. And then it gets filtered through all of our belief systems, all of our environmental programming, our social programming, our parental programming, our religious programming, all of our emotions, all the experiences that we had, all of our trauma. And then that image from our eyes gets deleted, generalized, or distorted to match what's in the unconscious mind. And then we move that distorted picture, if it even makes it to the conscious mind, maybe get totally deleted, to the frontal lobe to think about. And we call that the truth. So when we say you are living a figment of your own imagination, you absolutely are. And from that place, there is no choice. There is only you recreating your patterns. These boundaries that you can't hold over and over again, that's one of the things that I want to talk about. You don't decide them. Where do they get decided? Back here. And then from the conscious mind, the 4%, so 96% of everything we do is from the unconscious mind. The 4% is what we decide on, where our goals come from, but our ability to carry out those goals long term outside of a place of willpower, which is only 4%, comes from back here. And our options that are even available to us are being deleted, generalized, and distorted based on what's programmed back there. Is this making sense to anybody? Right? If we're ever going to have choice, we are going to have to deal with what is going on here in the unconscious mind. Right? So at some point, our boundaries are getting crossed. One, we haven't identified what our boundaries are. They're just being mimicked on autopilot based on how we treat ourselves. So we've got, that's the first problem that we have. Secondly, then we're going to try with our conscious mind to then try and create new boundaries. Okay. And we're like, oh, because people are crossing our boundaries, which we haven't set a boundary. We haven't let anyone else know what our boundaries are, but we're getting stepped on. We're feeling it. We're hurting. Okay. So there's first things that you can do is to start identifying it. But what's your best bet? You're going to do it from here. It's the 4%. And you're going to say, no one's going to cross this boundary again. Right? So our conscious mind says something different than what our programming says. Right? So we're not in alignment. Ultimately, the goal and real healing is to be able to get both of those, to have this inner dialogue with both the conscious mind and the unconscious mind and get them on the same page. Because one's going this direction and the other's going in their programming. And this programming is the 96%. And then you got your little 4% over here, like willing your goals. And you're wondering why you're completely, lacking or feeling like you're a failure. And then because of our programming again and what we normally do, then we go and shame ourselves for our inability to do it. Does it get easier if the 4% is battling the 9%? How can the 4% is never going to win? Newsflash, it's never going to win. You are either going to do this real work of working on the unconscious mind and rewiring that which has been wired in you, whether you wanted it to or not, or you're going to continue to battle this 96%, which is for you. It feels like it's a monster because of self-sabotage. So if you missed that one, go back and watch it. But again, self-sabotage is for us. Even in our self-sabotage, because our unconscious mind is always for us. But based on meeting the core needs that we decided at a younger age from the unconscious mind. So now I'm going off of a thing, but really it goes back to, again, these patterns of behavior. These patterns of behavior that we have. And so one of the things that, most people, when they come to me, that is why, while they do have all this trauma and they know that they're going to be able to get healed from that, there's plenty enough testimonials. But the other thing is that how the trauma is showing up is in this repeated pattern of behavior. And it doesn't matter how much work you do from this 4% and this willingness. And you can get really far. I'm not going to say that you can't. I raised my kids on that perfectionism. I, climbed myself up to making 6 figures in the business world from that type of mentality. But I almost died. And then, from this weakened state, I created all kinds of chaos for myself. Because I wasn't meeting my own core need of variety in a healthy way, right? So this is the breakthrough. We work with the 96%, the 4%. Yeah, it gets what it wants. We get what we want. Yeah, exactly. So that 4%, that's where all your goals, all your education, everything that you're doing. You want to make quantum leaps in your life. You're going to do it from here because you're already making quantum leaps from here. It's just on autopilot, so you have no control over where it goes in 96% of your life. It's always going to be meeting these core needs. And its main function is to keep you alive, keep you safe, and procreate. That's it. Change, not safe, to the unconscious mind. So our job is to give it the environment so that it is safe, right? When we get to this place where we clear out this that has been programmed in the unconscious mind, we can start looking at the gifts and talents that have also been trying to get into our generational lineage. But you're not going to get there until you clear some of this wreckage from the past and heal it. Heal these different versions of yourself and these different parts of your own generational lineage that has been brought down from a cellular level. But when you have the bravery to do that, then that is the environment for these gifts and talents to show up. And your gifts and talents, they're for you. They're not for everybody else. But we're always serving from this other place. We're serving from the 4%. And the 96% is still just trying to meet their own core needs and trying to heal. And it's doing it through our emotions. But every time our emotions come up, they're so big, or we have had, from feeling our emotions, we have had different experiences that are now anchors in us saying that if we feel X is going to happen. Therefore, we shove these things down, we shove them down, we shove them down, and we don't feel them. And this is where our greatest wisdom is. And they're coming up. It's coming up for healing. I'm going to do a whole entire live on, why I feel the practices that we have here at the Intention Academy are safe. It's because nobody else is creating the environment for the environment. You've got to create the safety first, which means you go in and you get the healing and then allow things to come up. Versus other medical practices that are out there that help you to remember, but don't worry, you're in good hands. No, you are the good hands. We'll prepare your hands. And you start, co-creating your own healing with God. And then co-creating your own life and your gifts and your talents. Because, again, from that place, this is where we can serve. This is what ease and flow can look like. Boundaries are just another way that the trauma is showing up. Or there's two: the lack of boundaries and your inability to stick to them. Inability to stick to them because the boundary was set here, but we live from the boundaries that we've decided here. There are times I feel he'll hurt, vicious cycle. Yeah, right. Because there's a lot of band-aids out there. There's a lot of band-aids. There's a lot of things that will make us feel better, but it's not healing. It's not clearing this unconscious mind. Go back to the beginning of the thing, and we go through how we actually walk people, step by step through this program. It starts with just how I told you, what are those belief systems? The belief systems are what we're living our life, right? And all of this different programming, which came in through the influences, through all the influences that we have in our life. So we start there. It is the most thorough process, and it's not easy, and it's a lot of work. People spend 5 figures to work with us, and that's the least of the payment. The payment is the work. You can't pay to make this go away. I'm sorry, guys. And I've had people that have no problem paying the 5 figures to be able to finally get some healing, but they're unwilling to do the work, and we can't do it for you. But because we can't do it for you, and we can teach you to do it for yourself, nobody can take it from you. This is yours, and this is healing that will last you a lifetime, that will change your generational legacy. I had a client ask me the other day, they were like, well, if it's, generational, it's already in our cellular body, and, what about my kids? Yeah, they're going to need healing. And we don't have to look at that from a place of judgment. It is what it is. And your mom just got, we were all born into what we were born into. And because you did not give up, because you chose and gave yourself permission to get healing, they not only have a pattern to be able to follow, you're going to be able to give them tools that they can use, and most importantly, you're going to stop the trauma cycle. Whatever damage has been done is done. But we're responsible for what happens from here on out. And just because, you were raped and, oh, well, you don't rape anyone, that you're not hurting the people that we love. If you have trauma stuck and stored in your body, if you are living from this place, meeting your core needs, and trying to do and have the things that you do and have from this 4%, and this 96% is running your life and meeting your core needs when that was from your belief systems, which, 97% of them were formed by the time you were 7 years old. And they learned how to meet those needs by the time you were 7. If you haven't done this work, you're still meeting your needs a lot of times from this place, because one of the prime directives of the unconscious mind is to take the easiest, fastest path. And they already learned that by 7. You want some of your deepest, most inner wisdom, you're going to have to go back there. If you want to have a different relationship with yourself, so that your outside relationship and boundaries can then, again, because we know how it's going to work, it's going to mimic what it is that we do on the inside here. The relationships that you have on the outside are just a byproduct, a result of, just like they are now. Same things going on. So these are just the laws. We're just working within the laws. And again, creating the environment so that we can have the experience that we want on the outside. Is this making sense to anyone? Yes, yes, yes. I'm trying to apply this knowledge. Yes. And, start going to yourself for this inner wisdom. And somewhere in this post, there's going to be a link to be able to book a call. And, again, we talk about, the spectrum and where people are in being able to work with us. And if you think that that's you, if you are sick of this outside circumstance, this result of this inside showing up in your life in the way that it does, which is your boundaries being walked over, or your inability to enforce those boundaries, or your inability to even know what your boundary is, or worse, enmeshment, when you really don't know where your boundary is between people at its worst. Again, even your lack of boundaries is on a spectrum as well. Same with parts, which I hope to be going over soon, all the way to multiple personality disorder. But again, it's on a spectrum. And it's not even that. It's just the way the brain works. We just have to learn how to work our brain. When we can do this, we can let go of the patterns of behavior. Most importantly, not let go. We can heal the parts of ourselves that create the patterns of behavior, but we can let go of the shame, because we know that this is just ourselves meeting our own core needs, right? My inner 7-year-old, my inner 23-year-old. Yeah, it's funny, and I found myself talking about myself as an age. Yes, because we were all very different. And all those are just parts, right? But what we want is to be able to have these. So, right, everything that you've done in your entire life has built you for right here and right now. It has prepared you for right here and right now. But if we do not have access to that which made us ready at those different ages, at those different parts, if you can't get that wisdom, we went through it for nothing. And some of us have so many parts so shut down because we've had to, because our brains are fascinatingly amazing at being able to heal. We're designed for healing. Another prime directive of the unconscious mind, right? Repressing that and then bringing it up when two things have happened. When there's the emotional availability and the emotional safety to be able to bring it up for resolution, right? So that's why we go in and heal, to create the emotional availability. And then we bring these things up, and we have the tools, right? The same tools that created the emotional availability. Yes, I was also, so Kathy just put in Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend. I was recommended this book, I think, by the time I was 18 years old by my counselor. And it was too much then. I have read it since then. It's actually it's a really, really good book. Just giving you basic knowledge on the boundaries. But again, we don't lack knowledge, guys. You don't need more knowledge to heal. You've done it. You've read it. You've went to the seminar. You've done the things. It's time to do the work. If you are ready to do the work, find the link on this call, book a call, get with somebody on our team, and let's see if you're ready. If you're not, it's okay. We can identify where it is that you are on the spectrum, what needs to be done to move yourself along. Continue to come into this group. I come in here and teach, mainly so that you can give yourself grace and you can have hope to know that there is a place to heal. Release the shame, release the guilt, all the things that you've done. None of it matters. You were just trying to take care of yourself, and you still are. You still are. I love you, whether I've met you or I don't. If you're on this call, I know what you're going through. I feel you, and we have an entire team that understands as well. So book that call. Otherwise, I'll see you here Tuesdays at 2 next week. Talk soon.